This one's an interesting one. I don't entirely know why, but yeah, I was informed that I needed to put this one out before or in conjunction with the Joe Rogan Wes Huff uh, interview release. So as far as I know, it hasn't been released yet. So I'm doing this, so I'm done before that. This is a totally unrelated subject matter, uh, but Joe Rogan loves UFOs and aliens, all that other stuff. He's always That's kind of his bread and butter talk, and he talks about that. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so let's get right into it. So, guys, okay, I've had well over 100 ET encounters, but I'm here to tell you, as a geopolitical Christian, aliens are not what you've been programmed to think as a Christian or as a part of society. So today I'm going to be talking about what are ETs, talking about my family history with this whole phenomenon, and what can you do when you have an encounter with an ET or you see something that's related to this phenomenon, and how to actually contact ETs. I'm going to share that with you. And then we're going to go into the geopolitical Christian understanding of ETs and the upcoming alien disclosure. All right. So my videos are really starting to pop off. I'm really excited about that. The trust and work is actually paying off. So I've also noticed that a lot more Apex humans are awakening. So if you're here and you want to up level your humanity and you want to enhance your Christian walk, make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're interested, make sure you get a copy of Hey God, Wake the Fuck Up. Wake the Fuck Up. Hey God, Wake the Fuck Up by Dr. Merlin Sy. It's the most important book you'll ever read other than the Holy Bible, because it is Bible wisdom you're not supposed to know about real life and the real you. We've been conditioned to believe that we are these useless, hopeless schleps kind of floating around in the world, and we're at effect to destiny, and that's all bullshit. So this book helps to clarify that. All right? So before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment below, like, share, comment below, comment below, comment below. Let me know what you think. If you agree, beautiful. I will love your comment. If you disagree, beautiful. I will love your comment as long as it's respectful. It's respectful, and you're not trying to convert me over to your faith. If you're wasting so much time converting me, you're going to do all that, and I'm just going to erase the comment. And so don't waste your time. Be smart. Be kind to yourself. I love reading long discussions that are questions or, hey, look, this was my experience. This is what I want to share. I'm fine with that. But I will erase anyone who's trying to convert me over to their faith or get me to join their Bible study. All right? I just have no tolerance for that whatsoever. Okay? So if you want to waste your time, be my guest. But I will erase you. All right. So anyway, today I always take a biblical approach. So we're going to talk about Hebrews. There are a couple of verses here, 5 verses. I'm going to put them in the description below. Everything's going to be below. There's going to be links to the documents from the FBI, CIA, links to all kinds of stuff. I'm going to put all that stuff there for you. Okay. So you'll be able to look this stuff up, verify it on your own, and it'll be easy. All of these things are going to be made available to you. So show me some love, like, share, subscribe, comment below. Also, if this is not for you, you're triggered by it, just go somewhere else. I don't care if you're subscribed to my channel. Unsubscribe and go somewhere else. I do not want to waste time with people that don't get it. We're not going to walk together. If two are not agreed, just go somewhere else. Like, don't torture yourself, okay? Go somewhere else. But if this is for you, I'm that confident in what I share here, okay? That if this is for you, it's for you. What I'm sharing here is going to be like, you're gonna be like, yo, I have never encountered this on YouTube. This is fresh air. I know what it's like to encounter that. It is life-changing. It's so beautiful, so delicious. And it has been my desire and purpose to do that. And I've asked God to give me the ability to do that. And I am doing that now. So if this is delicious for you, by all means, like, share, subscribe, buy the book. Your life will be up-leveled to a level that you will be like, my whole life is a dream every day. All right. So anyway, here are the Bible verses that I'll start off with. Hebrews 13, verse 2. Ezekiel 1, 4 through 5, and then 2 Kings 2, 11. Hebrews 13, 2. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. Okay? That kind of sets the stage for what we're talking about here. Ezekiel 1, 4 through 5. And I looked, and behold, a stormy wind came from the north, a great cloud with brightness round about it, fire flashing forth continually. In the midst of the fire, as it were, gleaming bronze, and from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures. This is Ezekiel's encounter with the UFO. I mean, people are going to call it that, you know. There are a lot of other explanations for this, but because we're talking about UFOs, I'm going to just call it a UFO. Okay? And then 2 Kings 2:11. And as they still went on and tallied, behold, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them. This is Elijah and Elisha. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. So a chariot made of fire, driven by horses of fire, comes and picks Elijah up, takes him up into heaven in a whirlwind. All right? So there's Job, where it talks about laying the foundations of the earth, book of Job 38. And then Matthew, when it talks about lightning and the Lord descending from heaven, angel of the Lord descending from heaven to roll away the stone after Jesus was killed. All right, murdered. All right, so let's get right into it. Like I said, I'm going to be talking about what is an ET, my family history with ETs, because it goes back many generations, what to do when you encounter ETs, how to contact ETs, and the geopolitical Christian perspective on this upcoming alien disclosure. All right. So real quickly, family, part 1. Actually, let's start off. What the hell is an ET? What the hell is an UFO? Okay. For the purpose of this talk, I'm going to stick to very rigid definitions to keep it clear and easy. The terms UFO and ET have been updated. You know, we haven't really called them that since like 2003, 2004. Okay. But for the purpose of discussion, I will be calling them UFO and ET. UFO is now called UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, or UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, okay? And then ET is now EBE, or Extraterrestrial Biological Entity, okay? You can look at the screen here, and you will see this definition of extraterrestrial. Of course, you can read that on your own, but I will go over it real quickly here. The one that I have up says, coming from outside planet Earth. Extra, outside, terrestrial, Earth, pertaining to Earth. Terrestri is Earth, and il is the conditional, anyway, pertaining to Earth. I'm not going to break down the etymology of it. And then extraterrestrial, the creature from outside planet Earth. Okay. Now, there's a lot of ways to take that. That could be a creature from another planet. That could be a creature from outside this atmosphere. That could be a creature from outside this dimensional perspective. So, take it as you will. The definitions for ETs are the ones that I really want to present here. And by the way, this is the other definition there. You can see it. All right, but the definition that I really want to bring your attention to is based on what was presented by Meade Lane. Now, Meade Lane, I'm going to bring all this stuff up, so just pardon me for 1 second. 1 second. All right. So Meade Lane was a university professor at the University of Southern California. He was an academic as well as many other professions. He was a mystic. He was into Atlantis. He was in a lot of things, okay? He was also an oil boss and all these kind of guys. And so he presented a memorandum. And again, I will provide the FBI link for this so you can find it on your own. But you'll see it on the screen here. You can see it on the screen here. But he provided this memorandum. Look at the date on this memorandum if you can. Zoom in and look at the date on this. It was dated July 8th, 1947. If you know what happened on July 8th, 1947, put it in the comment section below. I will perhaps answer that by the end of the video. But it was a very big monumental event that took place then. He presented this memorandum immediately to the U.S. government the moment that earth-shattering event took place. Okay? And so In his definition, he calls these extraterrestrials or beings Etherians. And you can, by the way, find this on the FBI archives. CIA, I think, had it. Initially, I found it, I think, on the CIA. It might have been the FBI, but I found other documents on the CIA Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. I think it is, yeah, Freedom FOIA or FIA. Anyway, Meade Lane referred to extraterrestrials as Etherians. He said that they were mortal, just like you and I, but they were just on a different plane of existence or a different frequency, and that they had the technology to jump over to our plane of existence and share with us insights. And their insights are what inspired our religious experiences. I 100% believe this. I agree with it, and it makes logical sense. This is what the military, the government, everybody's saying about UFOs now. And this guy said it in 1947. It's not really that big a deal, right? The Bible says the exact same things, but in primitive terms that were used by people in England when the Bible was translated over from Latin, Greek, and Aramaic into English. It was primarily Latin, Greek, over to English. But the people at the time did not have the terminology we have here: interdimensional, extraterrestrial, spatially diverse, or UAB. They didn't have UAP. They didn't have these terms, okay? So just keep that in mind. You're not going to see unidentified extraterrestrial biological entity in Bible. You're not going to find that in your King James Bible, so don't look for it there. But you will find angels, you'll find the messengers of God, you'll find spirits, you'll find foreigners, you'll find aliens. The word alien is in the Bible multiple times, okay? And so in Hebrews 13:2, it talks about treat aliens, treat strangers well. You don't know when you're entertaining an angel. And growing up, I heard a lot of stories of people that, you know, have these mysterious strangers show up in their lives. I mean, I lived in the rural backwoods of North Carolina at one point in my childhood. And I heard a lot of interesting stories, and I saw and experienced a lot of interesting things. So let's get right into it. So the second part of this video, we're talking about family history. We are 12 minutes in. I'm doing all right on time, because this is really a lot, and I hope this is helpful to you. If it's helpful to you, let me know in the comment section below. If you have questions, let me know in the comment section below. If you have doubts or criticisms of the perspective that UFOs and all this stuff, let me know in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. Let's keep going. Part 2, family history. So I have a family history with this phenomenon that we call UFOs and ETs, and it goes back multiple generations. Excuse me. I'm going to be careful here, okay? Because my grandfather on my mother's side was a very mysterious character. I did not realize he was my biological grandfather. I have evidence of that now because I did a genetics test and found all the Swiss German in there and Spanish that I didn't think was supposed to be there, and it was. And so his family was Swiss German. Their last name was a Swiss German name. But the family, from what I understand, was originally from Honduras, which is weird. So anyway, he was involved with the Air Force, and I heard a lot of little stories about him growing up. Some of them conflicting. Some was like he was a finance guy. Some was like he was doing other things that really people didn't talk about. I don't know. They lived in Germany most of my mother's childhood. And he died very early of a very strange kind of cancer. It was very aggressive. And, you know, who knows? My parents had strange encounters. I had a near-death experience at a very young age as an infant. So, look, my grandfather's involvement with the Air Force, my uncle's involvement with the Air Force, our family's involvement with a lot of these things, my parents' experiences where they saw things. And, you know, all I can say is, my grandfather might have been a player and just was telling people different stories. Okay, let's be honest. He could have been that way. He's a good-looking guy. A lot of women liked him. Okay, you know, it is what it is. On my mom's side of him. My maternal grandfather. My other grandfather was like that too. And so my parents' encounters with paranormal stuff, where they saw things that just, you know, really frightened them, and, you know, or really inspired them. You know, my mother had an encounter with a little being that she prayed and he went away, and my father had encounters as well, but they were often centered around my birth or around the time I was being born or before or after. Um, and so my parents had a Christian perspective, and so they described these as, evil spirits, or perhaps encounters with the devil, in positive experiences that they had with angels, like strangers showing up and helping them and then just disappearing. They would have called that angels, and so that was the narrative that we had, and that's part of my family history. My childhood was full of a lot of really, really, really intense experiences. I'll try, and I'm going to keep this as clean and as short as possible. I had multiple encounters from infancy until age 7. After age 7, everything kind of went dark until I was about 12 years old. Um, Everything just shut down after a certain event where I was hit in the head with a rather large rock, and then I completed the damage by throwing a stake into the air that hit me in the temple. And after that, all of my experiences with out of body experiences, astral travel, memories, dreams, and realer than life experiences shut down. Maybe that maybe I knocked something in my head into place. I know a little bit about brain anatomy, and I know that at a certain point, children's brains stop producing as much. It's dimethyltryptamine, but there's another. Children tend to operate from, I think it's alpha and delta state in their brain state. So beta waves, your brain produces beta waves when you're in your normal conscious state, when you're out working, driving, whatever. When you're in meditation, you're in theta and delta. And then you have alpha brain waves when you're, I think, in and out of trance. I'll have to re-up that. Don't quote me on the alpha part. But I know delta and theta or deep trance or dream or out-of-body experience for theta. So I was traveling between those brainwave states throughout early childhood. And then once I reached around age 7, when I had the experience of the girl dropping a large rock on my head, and then me later on throwing a stake in the sky and then hitting myself in the head with it, those things sort of just shut down. I My ET encounters, I break up into 3 categories. One is memories, one is dreams, and then the third is realer than life dreams. Okay, and I'm very honest that, look, I don't. First of all, let me let you know, I don't believe that ETs and UFOs exist here. Okay, I know it's gonna sound strange. You have all these ET encounters, and then you're gonna. I have goosebumps, and I'm shaking because it's a lot that I'm sharing here. I hope this is helping people. So why would I say I don't believe in ETs? I'll let you know by the end of the video, because there's more to this world than we think. But anyway, let's go into the 3 categories that I have from my experiences. Memories are things that I know it was a memory because it has the same quality as, when I recall playing with my friends at school, or when I recall going to church. When I recall dreams, it's much more hazy. It's a different type of memory. It's a different type of recall structure in my brain. I'm not going back to a solid thing that has tactile experience attached to it. A dream is, when I'm recalling a dream, I'm going back to something that has no tactile experiential attachment. Okay. So there's memories which have tactile experiential, like my fingers, my body remembers them. Okay, my cells remember. Of course, these aren't the cells that I had when I was a child, because your body replaces itself every 7 years. But that's what I'm saying. There were cellular memories that were the basis of those memories. Okay. The dream state is like it was just taking place on on my brain level, not on a bodily level. And then there's a third category of ET encounters that is realer than life. The realer than life ET category, these things were like experiences that when I went back to my waking everyday life, my waking everyday life felt like a dream, because the experience that I had was more real. And so you can liken the realer than life ET encounters to reports of high dose psilocybin, ayahuasca, or DMT. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like hyper aware. Okay. So let's go into the memories. Golden light angel at the foot of my bed. This was at the middle of the night, and I thought it was morning and the sun was shining into my room, and it wasn't. It was a beautiful golden being. It was absolutely gorgeous. I've only encountered these beings twice in my life. Once at the foot of my bed, and then another time when I was an adult, And these were these two women that came anyway. So two, they were light beings, and again, these are more like memory. They felt like physical memories. It was tactile memories. I remember like it actually engaging my body. Okay. I had an encounter, the second encounter that was a physical memory encounter that I can recall, was I was a child, woke up at like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning before the sun rose, went outside. We lived in rural North Carolina. Went outside this tiny little brick house that we lived in the country. There was a cow pasture across this small 2-lane road that went off of outside of Clayton, very small town in North Carolina in the 80s. And we used to go outside a lot. There were no cell phones. There was none of this stuff. It was a beautiful life. Just like running outside as a kid, living in the world, playing with animals, you know, climbing trees, swimming in the mud ditch, running across and playing with the neighborhood kids and all these sorts of things. But anyway, this morning I went outside. It was 4 a.m. approximately, because it was before the sun came up. It was very early. And there was this layer of fog on the ground that was probably 2 or 3 feet up off the ground, because I remember when I was out there, it was like up here, and I was a little kid. And I remember looking up and seeing what I thought was a city. I was probably about 4 or 5, maybe 5 at this time, because we were in Clayton around the age 5. And I remember looking up and seeing what I thought was the city of Raleigh, because I lived in North Carolina. I knew what Raleigh looked like from a distance. When you're driving from a distance, you're coming in, you can see the city lights. And I was like, what? Okay, Raleigh moved closer to our home, because I knew it was a long time to drive from Clayton to Raleigh, and I hated that drive. Because as a kid in the car, you're bored, right? And so I looked up, I was like, Raleigh's really close. And then the next thing I remember, because I was guided out of the house, I wasn't by myself. I just remember something taking me out of the house, and whatever it was, I was up to its knee. And it was not human. I knew it was not a human. It wasn't like my parents, or because I went outside with my parents a lot in the morning to say bye to them on the way to work, my dad on the way to work. But it was like I was up to its knee. That's how tall it was. And I was probably maybe between 3 and 4 feet tall. I was like 5 years old, somewhere in there. And I was tall for my age. And so and then I was in my yard, and it was like fog about up to chest high. And then, or maybe it wasn't chest high. It wasn't chest high. In some parts it was chest high. It was probably like abdomen or waist high, somewhere in there. In some parts it was chest high, whatever. The yard wasn't completely flat. But anyway, I remember just coming outside and looking, and it was dark, beautiful. You could see all the stars at night. You could see the Milky Way where we used to live. And I went up. I didn't feel myself going up. All I know is I was in my yard, and then I was on this city, what I thought it was a city. And they would take me through corridors, and I was walking around and seeing these things. They were showing me stuff. And then, but they were gentle and nice. I've seen them again. I saw them again as an adult in another realer than life memory. And I was up to their knees as a child. As an adult, I was probably up to like mid-thigh or something. But they were very tall, very slender, and their skin was like really a dark color. I couldn't tell because it's nighttime. So it was like either this color, black, or a dark green or something like that, like a deep, 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 deep emerald or black. And I walked around on the city or whatever it was, and they showed me a bunch of stuff, and then then I was guided back to my house and put back in my bed. So that one was the one where it's like, okay, that felt like a tactile memory, like I had of playing on the playground with my friends, of getting hit in the head with a rock by that girl many years after this UFO experience, ET experience. And who knows? Okay. So those were my things. The floating city above my house, that was in North Carolina. I had a lot of out-of-body experiences from that time, around that time where I would just be above my house, and I knew what it looked like from like 50, 100 feet up. I don't know why, but I just knew that this was here like this, and the trees were there like that, and the antenna behind the house was like that, and the satellite dish in the neighbor's yard was like that, and then there was a little dirt drive with rocks, and like I knew where all that stuff. I still have that in my head. Like I could still see it. I still see it in my head. So I remember doing that a lot during that time period. Okay, and then I had multiple dreams. That was the second category of memories or recalls, recollections, were dreams. And I would recall these dreams a lot as a child. And this was a dream. Like, it just took place in my head, big quotes. Celestial paradise world. Um, yeah. Yeah. So there was just, it was an interesting thing, the celestial thing. The dream paradise place was not as intense. That was just kind of, there's a note here. I'm listening. I'm obeying here. Okay. So, celestial paradise world. I went there in multiple dreams. All right. And then there were realer than life travels to the celestial place. And it was extremely painful to come back here. And this was where I had the realer than life experiences, where I was there. Everything was realer than this world. It was solid. It was clear. It was shining. It was like light was coming out of everything. And I've heard people say this in their near death experiences, where it's like light coming out of everything. Like the grass was shining, the leaves of the trees were shining, the bark was shining, the animals had a glow to them. The creatures there was all kinds of different skinned peoples and blue and green and different faces and different bodies. Some had wings. It was like all the magical fey wild fairy tale world people were there. All that stuff was there. And so, but it was very real. It felt very real. And I hated coming back here. I would literally wake up crying. I did not want to come back here because that was home for me. This was like a weird place that I was stuck. And so those were the realer than life experiences, very painful. So, what are some explanations for this? Well, I had a Seventh-day Adventist narrative as a child. The angelic beings that I saw were quite possibly my experiences with something outside of normal waking reality. It's sunny outside now. It was raining like crazy earlier, but it's sunny now. But anyway, I had a Seventh-day Adventist narrative. So I was fortunate that my parents didn't suppress my dreams and tell me not to talk about them, because especially my mother listened to them. And I talked about my dreams a lot. And in our culture, Seventh-day Adventist at that time, dreams were very important. They were a sign from God. They were a message from God. And so to have a dream about this beautiful place, my parents told me you were dreaming about heaven. And we read about heaven in the Bible. So there was a lot of that imagery in my mind. And it's highly likely that I was utilizing that imagery and soothing myself during difficult or challenging times. Okay? That's just the logical explanation for that. I potentially had health issues. I know I did have health issues as a child, a lot of them. I was definitely on the spectrum. They tried to get me diagnosed many, many, many times. I think I was labeled ADHD and all that stuff. And so there's that. I did have head trauma, but this was after these experiences. And this the curious thing is that when I had the head trauma from the girl dropping the rock on my head and that stick hitting me, or the stake, all of these things stopped. Like they slowed down, or they stopped, or they just became kind of like normal. Like just everything was kind of normal. It just, I went into like a normal state. It was not a good feeling. It did not feel good, because these dreams were like what helped me to get through, even though they were painful because I didn't want to come back here. But it was like I looked forward to them, is what I'm saying. And so there were the health issues, the head trauma from the girl dropping the rock on my head, and then a lot of these experiences were centered around dream state. Really early in the morning, the 4 o'clock a.m. experience, and the angelic being at the foot of my bed. These were taking place at times when I would have been waking up from sleep or around sleep. And even if they were realer than life, I honor the reality of those experiences as real. But I do know that the brain is also sensitive in different ways, and it can perceive things in different ways at different stages of awareness. I mean, I'm trained hypnotherapist, so I know how to get people into those different stages. All right. So those are my explanations for my childhood experiences with UFOs, ETs, and I'm telling you, the worlds that I went to that were realer than this place were beyond beauty. There's no word to describe them. It's like taking mushrooms and going to the most beautiful paradise island and removing the mosquitoes, getting rid of the excessive heat, getting rid of the trash, getting rid of any weird smells. You're smelling flowers. You're seeing crystals growing out of the ground. Everyone there is loving and kind and gentle and peaceful. Everyone, everything. It's just, and there's no destruction. The it's hard to describe, because it's so beautiful. You just don't, just imagine the most beautiful Hawaiian Islands or Bora Bora mixed with the Emerald Isles of Ireland in 72-degree weather and breezes and flowers growing anywhere, and white crystals or clear crystals or emeralds growing out of the ground, and perfectly clean rivers. It's just beyond words. Beyond words. Anyway, I digress. Get back to this. All right. So my ET encounters picked up again around age 12 when I started to have a lot of past life memories, meaning I did not call them that because I was Seventh-day Adventist. I didn't believe in reincarnation. I still don't. But I was having these memories from either my ancestors or from my previous incarnations or something like that. Okay? As a geopolitical Christian, I can make room for that reality. I can say there's a possibility of this, and I'll give it. It's just like Jesus was a real person or not. I'll say I'm open to it. I want to believe this real. Okay? So at age 12, I started having these weird encounters and dreams and things like that where I'd have these memories of being someone else, and I'd wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and I'd be like, oh, I'm this person now. Okay? Probably just an intense dream. Some people would say that it is a past life regression. There's a lot of psychiatric papers that are published on these things, and they don't have a pathological explanation for them because people are perfectly adjusted. They're just having memories of being other people, and they know details about things that they should not know, like where George Washington hid this special thing in his house that nobody knew about. They didn't even know there was a compartment. There was a girl that remembered being a slave in George Washington's house, and she helped them find a compartment in the house that nobody knew was there, that nobody had known of for almost 200 years. George Washington's a long time ago, right? So past life stuff is like real. Like there's something to it. Who knows? I have my beliefs about it, all right? So anyway, sleep and exhaustion might have lended to some of my ET encounters as a young adult. And all of my ET encounters, they started to stack up as I got older. Started to get into my late teens and into my 20s, especially when I got married and stress in my life increased. I had a lot of UFO ET encounters. And that goes back to when I was in a lot of stress. That was how I coped with it at the time. I deal with stress very differently now. I've learned a lot of tools, so I don't have the same sort of encounters. But all these ET encounters led to a departure of faith. I stopped believing in the Christian sort of structure of the world because a lot of my encounters and experiences, including precognition, where I would be shown things that would happen, and they would happen exactly the way I was shown them. Not a deja vu, but exactly the way I was shown them. Those sorts of encounters with other beings, encounters with other creatures in different dimensions and stuff like that, just caused me to doubt Christianity and leave it. Now, why am I back in Christianity? Stay tuned to the end of the video. Okay, we're at 33 minutes, y'all. Stay with me here. And I'll explain that. So that's why I'm a geopolitical Christian, but we'll get over that later. So as I got into my 20s, I started to have like 19 to 24, started to have a lot of encounters with ETs. In college, it started when I was like 19. I was in college, and I had an encounter with a shadow stone being. But I don't need to go into that. So the encounters increased between age like 19 and 24, and they were like a lot. A lot of out-of-body experiences, a lot of ET encounters, a lot of realer-than-life dreams and encounters. Encountered a lot of different races. And this is the thing that I'll get to the end before I say this. So I'm going to put this in red so I can say it at the end, because like there's a lot of overemphasis and mythologizing around UFOs. And I want to like clear up a lot of the bullshit around UFOs. So that's why I'm making this video. There's a lot of bullshit around them. It's just not true. So I encountered a lot of different races, and when I say races, they were just humanoids that had different looks. Some had yellow skin, like actually canary yellow skin. Some had golden skin, like actual gold. Some were blue, some were green. Some were like 12 feet tall, 18 feet tall, 10 feet tall. Some were 3 feet tall. Some were really tiny. Some were really little, like this big. There were various types. They all had different cultures and different ways of doing things. And one of the things that they were mostly nice. They're mostly gentle, mostly interested in their own lives, doing their own thing. They weren't like trying to do anything. Like they were just normal. They were not like none of that shit. You know, not the paranormal X-Files, none of that shit. It was just normal, like just normal, okay? Just normal, okay? Let me just say this now. They were mostly uninterested in people. Okay? It's like, think about the birds in your backyard right now. Are you like, oh, let me go and talk to that bird and tell them about the internet? No. You don't give a fuck about the bird. You just like, okay, there's a robin or there's a sparrow, a seagull. Who cares? They're just part of nature. They're part of the world. We're like that to them. They're not coming here to teach us anything. Some of them do that because they want to, and they're scientists or they're interested in these, you know, rats, these rodents that humanity is. But they're generally just normal. There's nothing special about UFOs. And this is what I learned from my well over 100 experiences with them, travels, being in their vehicles, seeing their technology. Every single race has a different type of technology. And I'm going to get to why I don't believe they exist here. Okay? But they all have different technology, and they would show me stuff in detail. They were like, okay, this is this is that, and this is how this works. And what the fuck am I going to do with it? Some of them did that, but I'm going to say, like, again, that was rare. Most of them were just kind of like, okay, he's here, he's inconsequential, who cares? Or they're like, okay, there's a little rat in the ship. Who they didn't care is what I'm saying. We're not that important to them. So we're all this like ET's coming to the White House and they're gonna teach us the thing and we're gonna have disclosure, all that Bashar stuff. They don't give a fuck about this. They're not that interested. They're if they're part of you, like they've been in your family or you're related to them or something, you got some of their DNA or something, maybe they'll like spend some time with you and stuff. But that's different. Like that's special or rare or something. But generally we're like the mouse or the cockroach in your backyard to them. They don't care. They're not that interested, okay? I'm trying to make that very clear. There's not some alien agenda and they're like breeding us and stuff. Some of them are. Like, we breed mice. But we don't give a fuck about the damn rat that lives out in the cornfield. We don't care about them. We don't want them eating our corn, and then we'll put out traps and kill them. But we're like that to them. They're not that impressed, okay? They breed some humans because they may have labs and they're studying genetics or something. But they're not, again, we're not that important, okay? We are important to us. We're important to God, but they don't really care, okay? So let's keep that clear. All right, so they're mostly nice. All my experiences, and I'm telling my experience, they're mostly nice. Some were nefarious, some were shadow beings. I did encounter Satan and Lucifer. And by the way, Satan and Lucifer are two different beings or entities, and they're both exceptionally beautiful. Like, beautiful beyond words. The word beautiful, gorgeous, opulent, transcendent. There's no word to describe how beautiful Satan is. Like, if you saw him, you would fall on your face and you would worship him as if he was God. The same with Lucifer. They're both so beautiful. Okay, so don't let these idiot Christians trick you. They are beautiful. Okay, both of you. I encountered both of them. And Lucifer and Satan, they take different forms. Okay. And so don't be fooled, okay? They're not ugly, big red horns and all that shit, you know. There was, I think this one must have been Satan. It was Pan. It was the Pan version of Satan. I did encounter him one time, but that was just a dream. But it was a very strong dream. It was like a dream that I still can see images of it in my head. And I had this dream like 15 years ago. But it was a dream, okay? But I did encounter Pan. And that was the beginning, actually, of my Luciferian. That was a couple years before I became a Luciferian. That was a couple of years before I became a Luciferian. All right, guys. So, again, there's a logical explanation for all of these encounters with Satan, with Lucifer, with all these different extraterrestrial races. Some of them look like jellyfish. Some of them were made of light. I mean, some of them were truly extraterrestrial, like made of light or made of information or made of sound or made of other substances that you can't describe with the mouth. Like, we don't have words to describe what they're made of. They're made of other stuff because that stuff doesn't exist here. They're made of that. Anyway, dark matter, whatever, plasma. They're conscious, they're real in that sense. But the thing that I really want to cap on The thing I really want to bring awareness to is that um, these encounters have a logical explanation. They occurred often when I was in an increased state of anxiety and stress, when I was having a very hard time in my life and I didn't feel like I was able to cope. Okay. So the increased anxiety and stress is one thing. Um, they were often associated with very strange weather. Very strange weather. In 2008, I was having a lot of these encounters. A lot. And I will show you, and I knew something was weird because I was like, those clouds are not normal. And lo and behold, believe it or not, and again, I'm going to give you links to all this stuff, there is a cloud formation called asperitas. Undulatus asperatus clouds. They discovered these in 2008. This was when I was having these strange encounters. And I'll show you what these look like. I'm going to take this down. You guys can find that document on the FBI website. Again, the link is in the description. This is what they look like. By the way, this is very mild. I saw some that looked like the ocean just flipped over your head. And I was like, that's not normal in 2008. And I was telling people, they were like, yeah, that's weird. Nobody was paying attention. And then the scientists in 2008 came out and said, yeah, we have this new undulatus asperatus clouds. Undulatus asperatus clouds, or whatever you pronounce it. Okay. So it would often occur when I saw these clouds. And I took pictures of some of the things that I encountered with my iPhone 1 at the time. Because between 2007 and 2010, 2007, 2011, because it slowed down between the birth of my first child and my second child. And then in my second child, it picked up again in 2011. But these asperatus clouds, undulatus asperatus clouds, asperatus clouds, so when I would have my UFO encounters, like I would pass out sometimes. Like I was working a lot and taking call. I was working the OR. So I'd be on call and they'd call me at 3 a.m. We have to deliver a dead baby or try and save a baby from dying or something. And, the next day after working like a 36-hour shift, I would come home, help my wife with the kids and make dinner or whatever. And then I'd sit on the couch with my son and I'd just pass out. Or I would be like trying to clean up or do something like that. And I'd sit down for a second, get lightheaded and just pass out. And then I would have this travel. I'd be taken somewhere. I would see the sky open up and these, geometry would come through or whatever. And I took pictures of these clouds during those time periods and there would be a perfect circle above my apartment. A perfect circle with a puff of cloud below it. Like something was beneath and shot up or shot down into the earth. And so, hey, take it or leave it, whatever about it. But I have photographic evidence of this on an external hard drive that I've hidden away in a storage unit safely with a lot of other stuff on it. So, so there's photos have been taken of this, and I have them. Okay. So I also had some other weird encounters. Waking up with scars on my body after having experiences of like really frightening experiences of like really traumatic experiences I'll call it dream state, but it actually felt realer than a waking state. And I'd wake up with like really strange scars on my body, like perfect lines on my back, cuts, but they were like scratches. They looked like somebody just scratched me, but they were perfect, like around. And it's possible that in my night sleep, all right. I'm gonna have to close down because I'm coming to the end here. Okay, we're still going. I'm gonna keep going. Hopefully this continues because it gave me a warning like we're running out of space because this is a long one. So stick with me. But anyway, there's a possibility that just I was dealing with some things, but I had a persistent health issue that lasted about 10 years after this one encounter that I had. I never had the health issue before that, and after that I had the health issue for that lasted about 10 or 11 years. I had some experiences that helped me to get over that, and did some treatments that helped me get over it. But it was intense. Okay. Out of body experiences, lucid dreaming, spontaneous past life regressions. After all of this, I started to volunteer with MUFON and started to find out what these things were about. Because I was like, why am I having all these experiences? This is so weird. I don't know what to say about them. I don't know what to do about them. And That's just kind of how it happened. So I did start working with MUFON in 2008 to I think 2010. And again, all you're doing is taking interviews. 99% of this stuff that people are recounting is just, either dreams or drugs or whatever, or mental health. And in my case, it was just excessive stress in some instances, but a lot of it was like it's hard to explain. I later did a hypnotherapy training to try and understand these things, and had some really strong and strange encounters when they tried to regress me, that I wasn't able to do the work. So I had to leave early because there was some like brick wall blocks and some things, and I just couldn't get there. And they were like, we're going to discontinue the session, because I would like start shaking uncontrollably and couldn't breathe and all that. And then I met Stephen Greer because I got into his material because it helped to explain some of the stuff. I was doing transcendental meditation, which helped to bring all this stuff together. I have provided a link to his CE5 initiative in the description below, so make sure you check that out. I met Stephen Greer before he was big, back at the Conscious Living Expo many years ago. I think it was like 2013 or 14. Really cool guy, taller than I expected and much more muscular than I would have imagined. I thought he was a skinny dude, but no, he's a buff dude. He's like Wes Huff, buff, At least at that time he was. This was 11 to 12 years ago. All right. So I learned transcendental meditation, wrote a book about it all. Where is it? There it is. Whispering Archangel. And this contains all of my, not all of them, but a lot of the encounters I felt comfortable sharing in a fictional format, because I didn't feel comfortable putting it out there because I had some weird encounters that I won't go into here that concerned me. And so I made this a fictional book, used a fake name, all that stuff to kind of protect myself. Because there's like human involvement in this stuff. There's like everyday people, involved in this. So anyway, third point, still recording. Okay. So let's get to this. So this is part 3. So what to do about unidentified aerial phenomenon, UFOs and ETs. A lot of people in the Christian community, there's the Christians just talking to the Christians, or even if you just talk to Christian religious people, is pray. If it's a negative experience, this is a positive experience, go along with it. Like, go with it, like, enjoy it. But if it's like really traumatic for you, pray. My mother always taught me, if she had encounters with demons or angels or that were nefarious or something in a dream state, she would just pray the name of Jesus and that would release her. And so is it the word Jesus that drives these things away? No, because I've seen people screaming, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Nothing's helping them. That doesn't help them. It's the conviction and the trust in a higher power than these entities. So if you're an atheist, I suggest trying Vipassana meditation, transcendental meditation. It'll help to bring your brain into coherence, which will allow you to snap yourself out of those situations much more rapidly. All right, and I'm going to explain why this works at the very end of the video. If you're of other faiths, I encourage you to link up with the power and security according to your faith. If you're a Hindu, tap into Ganesh or Brahma or Parvati or Lakshmi maybe, or some deva that you feel is your patron that's going to support you and help you. If you're a Buddhist, perhaps it's a Bodhisattva or something. Anything in your religion or your faith that gives you a sense of peace and security. Tap into that if you're having a negative ET encounter. And trust me, it'll go away. All right? I never had to call on Jesus because for some reason, I don't know. It's like if I had a negative encounter, I just fucking dealt with it. I don't know what to say about that. So I just dealt with it and got out of it. I never had to cry out Jesus. I felt like it was weird. It felt like we were connected. Like when I encountered the satanic beings and stuff like that, I felt like there was, I don't know. All I'm going to say is I felt like I didn't have to fear them. I was not underneath them. I was above them. The people that are underneath them, you're not connected. You're like, oh, it's like the way Jesus dealt with Satan. He's like, dude, I know you. Get out of my face. It was that kind of thing. It wasn't like, I need help. No, it was just like, I know you guys. Stop fucking with me. And that was my experience with them. But yeah, in one experience, I had about a 10 or 11 year health issue after that. And then I had the MRI, CTs, everything, and they were just like, "Yeah, we found something, but you can have surgery or whatever, but you know, you don't need it surgery right now. You're not going to die." But it was difficult. Anyway, encounter that, you can pray. The second thing you can do is realize your set and setting. Were you asleep? Were you sleep deprived? Were you on drugs? Were you drinking? Were you malnourished? Did you have head trauma? Sometimes these things can contribute to UFO encounters, ET encounters, seeing lights in the sky, and you may need to go talk to a professional to get support. Now, a trusted professional, okay? UFOs, ETs, they're part of the main discussion now. UAPs and EBEs. They're part of the main discussion now. So you don't have to think you're going to be marginalized. Okay. We have evidence by the military, government, everything. That's like, yeah, they're real. We've known they've been real for about 100 years, and we've been tracking them for 50 or 60 now. 60 or 70 or 70 now. No, it's like 80 now. God. Yeah, it's been 80 years almost. So we've been tracking them for at least 80 years. It's 1947. So they know that this thing isn't just, you're not just crazy, okay? So you're not going to just be meted up and one flew over the cuckoo's nest, all right? All right, I'm going to try to keep this under an hour, y'all. Don't jump to conclusions. The third thing you can do if you encounter aliens, extraterrestrials, all that stuff, don't jump to conclusions. Don't think they're aliens or don't think they're from another world or any of that stuff. It could be your mind playing a trick on you, okay? I'm just going to be straight up and honest with you, first and foremost. Second, it could be a government thing, all right? Because I know there are government programs and they do this stuff, okay? And I've known that since forever, even before I started doing the research and following up with people like Stephen M. Greer or Hoagland or any of these other early adopter people. Some of it is government stuff, okay? I hate to say that, but it is. All right, the government knows about it. They have these things and they can do it, okay? Not a big deal, but don't jump to conclusions is what I'm saying, all right? Don't jump to that conclusion, but I'm saying it could just be humans. It could also be that you are not fully awake and you need to like drink some water, stomp your feet, and you're gonna be like, oh, there's no aliens. I'm just in my room hallucinating because my brain is still full of DMT. All right, because your brain has a bunch of DMT released when you're sleeping. All right, avoid mystifying. The fourth thing you do is avoid mystifying or deifying these encounters. Never treat an alien like they're a god. Throughout the Bible, good angels always said, don't bow down and worship me. They said it over and over. When Lot was encountered, and Abraham with Mary, they were like, don't worship me, okay? Wait a second, chill. I'm like you. Like Meade Lane said, and again, I'm putting a link in the description below for the link for this document from the FBI. They are mortal. They die. They're born and they die. They eat and they fuck and they do all this stuff just like us. They're just in a different frequency. They're just on a different path, different timeline, whatever. Okay? So don't worship them. Don't treat them like a god. Because if you do, you're going to go crazy and they're going to tell you to do stupid things like hurt people eventually. Okay? So don't do that. Don't ever do that. Don't worship them. Don't mystify them. Okay? And then check in with a trusted professional. UAP is considered mainstream now, so you don't have to worry about being marginalized because you saw lights in the sky. Everybody's seeing them, okay? All right. So we're now down to point 4. We're about to close here. We're doing okay, okay? So how can you contact UFOs or ETs or UAP EBEs? If you want to encounter EBEs and you've never seen them, good. Keep it that way. You don't need the extra drama in your life. If you've never seen a UFO or an EBE, then you don't need to, okay? So don't necessarily go out chasing it. Because trust me, you don't want to encounter all of them, okay? You might walk into somebody's plate and they might be like, "Thank you, Lord, for this meal." So don't go, and they're not going to eat your body because we're quarantined, so they're not going to necessarily do that. What about the cattle mutilations? That's all government stuff. Don't be stupid. Sorry, it's not stupid. It's just, that's us. Okay, that's humans doing that. It's not aliens. Because they don't need to kill a cow and cut it perfectly and drain its blood and take its eyeballs out to figure out what's going on. They can just scan the whole thing. Like, they can walk inside of its body. They can inhabit the cow's consciousness and see what it's like to be a cow. They don't need to cut a cow open to do that. That's sick. That's humans doing that. Okay, let's just keep that straight. Okay, but if you've never seen them, you don't need to go out there chasing them. But if you're really, really curious, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here and give you to use this. And during the 2009-2010 period, where I saw a bunch of them, and they would, like, I actually have photos of perfect circles above my house where they would come through. You're not there, you're there. Where they would come through. This is the meditation I was using that helped. And it's in the link below. It's called the CE5 Initiative. C as in cat, E as in elephant, 5, the number 5, Initiative. And Stephen Greer has been spearheading this for years. He's been taking people out to the desert to actually see and meet extraterrestrials, and they have a very high success rate of meeting and encountering them. So if you want to do that, you can. The link will be below. I don't encourage you to go out there and searching them, because they'll come to you when it's your time. And if you're trying to increase your faith with Jesus, you probably don't need to be seeing aliens. Maybe you'll see a couple of angels, and maybe that'll increase your faith or something, and that'll be good. But I highly encourage you to leave it alone. Deep meditation does help. So yeah, check out the link in the description below. Okay, that's how you encounter them. Maybe I'll describe it really quickly. We're at 56 minutes. So you can get into a very relaxed state. Prayer can help, but real prayer, like what Jesus talked about in Mark 11:22 through 26, that kind of prayer. You know, where you think about what it would feel like to encounter them and just let it go. Like, don't try and make it a hard thing. Don't try to chase them down, because you're not going to encounter it. I can't tell you, I had friends that would call me and say, one friend specifically, she would call me and say, hey, look, you know those aliens that are around you? And I was not talking to her about them. She said, you know, there's like these, she didn't say aliens, but she's like, there's these entities, these beings. She's very spiritual. And she's very tapped in, like she sees things and all. And she was like, there's these entities that are trying to get a hold of you. And you know, they have all these different, she described them. I was like, oh shit, she's seeing my people, these other beings, right? And I was like, yeah, what about them? It was so weird. It was on a full moon. It was a really weird experience, but it was beautiful. And she was like, yeah, they're trying to let you know to stay encouraged and don't give up. And that was when I was going through a lot of stuff. And she called me. She let me know. I was like, whoa. This was like 15 years ago. Anyway, no, it was 12 years ago. Why did I go on that tangent? Back on it. You can encounter them, and you can in all that stuff. And I'm going to be honest with you, you probably are having encounters with them. If you're watching this stuff right now, you've probably already had a lot of encounters with them, but your memory, you have wiped your own memory. It's not that they wipe your memory, because they don't wipe your memory. You wipe your own memory. It's your brain saying, this is not the time for this. Wipe it. Etch it, sketch. Done. Your brain just wipes it, because you don't need to have that in your, if you're trying to pay your bills and you got stress and your spouse is cheating on you, whatever, you don't need to go on, you don't need to now see aliens. Like, you don't need all that extra stuff. Okay. So let's get down to the point. The fifth and final point is geopolitical Christianity has a perspective on UAP and alien disclosure. UAP, I'm going to be straight with you about what geopolitical Christianity understands about it. Aliens, ET, UAP, UFO, all this stuff, it does not exist here. It's not real here. Now, there are aliens in the sense of like insect beings and all that stuff on this earth, because they're just part of the natural environment. But these beings that shift in and out of reality and visit you in your dreams and talk to you in your sleep and all that stuff, they're not here. They're somewhere else. But there's a part of you that's also somewhere else. So they're not real in the sense of, they're real in the sense of the information in my computer is real. The data in my computer is real, but it doesn't exist anywhere. Think about it. My computer is now full. It has 249 gigabytes of it's overstuffed, basically. I think it's gigabytes. It's full. I have to use a 4 terabyte external, hard drive to just make it work. But it doesn't weigh any more than it did when I bought it, when it was brand new. So why do I have all these documents? I'm like, what is all that? That's what these extraterrestrial beings are. They're the same fucking thing. They are their data, the information, they're in a different dimension is what I'm saying. And I hate using that because different dimension means a lot of things. And if you're a physicist, you can hear what I'm saying and think this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm using dimension because most people don't understand. But like they're on a different frequency. Like think of a radio. We're at 90.1 FM. They're at 530 AM. They're on a totally different wavelength. But they can encounter you because your consciousness is universal. That's what God is. God is the source code. You have access to that, and you can encounter them through that. What does geopolitical Christianity say about alien disclosure? Complete bullshit. You have just, let me first say this. You've just experienced alien disclosure. Okay, you watching this video, you have had your alien disclosure. Now you can go out and meet them and talk to them in your consciousness, through meditation, through prayer, whatever, right? Just be careful because some of them don't really give a fuck about you. And they will just destroy your consciousness and make you go crazy. But if you see an alien disclosure like, oh, the alien ships, and then they land and they walk out and they go to, hey, Trump, we're aliens. You notice Donald Trump doesn't believe in aliens and he's seen all the documents? That tells you something. Pay attention to who believes in aliens and who doesn't. Now, Stephen M. Greer believes in aliens, but that's because he's encountering them, and he also knows that they're not physically here. They're on a different wavelength. So they can slow the vibration of their forms and their vehicles just so that they can pass through this dimension or this reality, but they're not actually physically here. We are in a bubble. We're like in a terrarium in a way. Humans are stuck inside this quarantine for whatever reason. And if you encounter aliens, it's just like you see them while you're awake, you either have a psychiatric issue or you're just encountering a human, or you're encountering something that lives on this earth that's a native to this planet. Okay? So, I think I've covered everything. Let me go back to my red. Oh, and so I'll close with this. Aliens, extraterrestrials, ABEs, EBEs, UFO, UAP, whatever you want to call that whole phenomenon of all this stuff that's happening, it's normal, it's part of everyday life, it's real, but it's not like necessarily physically here. Don't expect yourself to see an alien come and go like, hello, Bob, I'm at the door. Okay? Because that's not what it is. That's a creature that lives on this earth and that's native to this earth. If you see a transcendent ethereal being, like this guy was saying, Mead Lane, they're from another timeline. They're on a different dimensional wavelength. So anyway, don't deify them. Don't treat them like gods. Let me hurry up and close up because we're at an hour. What is an ET? An ET is just something from another, outside of this world. Okay, that's outside of our realm, outside of whatever. Sometimes they pass through, but they're from outside of here. I have a family history. I talked about that. Goes back to my grandfather and probably way back further than that. What to do if you encounter aliens is, if there's a frightening thing, you can pray. Learn Vipassana meditation if you're an atheist, or any type of meditative technique. Transcendental meditation is very good for this because it helps to create coherence in your brain, which will drop down, that will decrease your alien encounters. It will also clarify them so that you're not encountering a bunch of weird stuff just randomly. Okay? And then how can you contact them? Link is in the description below. CE5 Initiative. Make sure that you're not deifying these beings. They're just real mortal beings. They're just on a different wavelength, or they're native to this planet and they're not from somewhere else. Like a lot of the reptilians people are saying are just like fucking lizard people probably, or maybe, yeah, let me not say that. There's a lot to this world people don't know about, but that's what I'm going to say with that. I'm going to shut this down here. Alien disclosure, you just had it now. If you see alien ships land and aliens walk out and then they do this whole song and dance, it's probably bullshit. It's probably, I don't know, government psyop or something. But maybe it's real. I mean, I've seen that too. Like I told you, and as a child, I had this experience. But anyway, that's what I have to say about that. I really hope that this helps you guys. That's just the best I can say about it. And this is the document if you want to screenshot it. But I will put the link to it in the description. Tell me, what day do you think, what happened on July 8th, 1947? Excuse me, was it July or June? What happened? Yeah, July. What happened on July 8th, 2007? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. It's time for me to go. I have exhausted this topic, but I hope